if you want to be a powerful, persuasive communicator, I would strongly recommend studying persuasion and communication wherever it shows up. So, for example, I'm a copywriter. Most of the people who engage, who subscribe to my episodes are copywriters. And of course, we persuade through the written word. But going back to Claude Hopkins' scientific advertising, he defined advertising as, well, he said salesmanship in print, but it's selling multiplied through media, persuasion multiplied through media. So we need to study persuasion, right? But there's a lot of places that persuasion shows up. Of course, there's things like sales and marketing. There's things like any kind of cultural leadership, right? Or spiritual religious leadership. There's also change work. So, for example, therapists, and in today's case, we're going to actually look at someone who's been a hypnotherapist and a performance hypnotist, that's another type of persuasion, to actually get an audience, a room full of people to engage with this act of performance, of hypnosis. And I say that not act in the sense of completely made up, because I absolutely believe that hypnosis is it's a phenomenon, but it's the act of participation, right? In that. So I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts from Mike Mandel and Chris Thompson from Mike Mandel Hypnosis. And in that podcast, they shared the 3+1 C's of powerful, persuasive communication. And so we're going to dive into that today. So first, I just want to be clear about who the heck is Mike Mandel, right? Mike Mandel is a professional hypnotist. He is possibly the world's best hypnosis trainer. I don't really know how to compare that, but I've done a lot of casual research into hypnosis, and his stuff is just off the charts good in the way that it integrates all the different schools of hypnosis, types of hypnosis, and really focuses in a way that I resonate with on principles of hypnosis, not like tactical reading scripts at people. He is also the person behind Mike Mandel Hypnosis with Chris Thompson and the Mind Software podcast, which is where I heard this. Okay, so in the context of Mike's work, he teaches something called the Mandel Triangle for powerful, persuasive communication. So this is something that he created for hypnotists. Initially created this for hypnotists, and that's because it works. Like, it works in the context of doing hypnosis. It works in the context of getting someone to buy into the process that leads to the state of hypnosis, right? And what's important about that is human brains, they don't distinguish between, I'm going to participate in this thing called hypnosis, and I'm going to participate in this thing called going through a buying decision-making process, right? And so the same types of things that get people to choose to participate in the process of hypnosis are going to be what get people to participate all over the place, right? Including in marketing and selling and persuasion. So what he talked about, and this is what has to be true inside of you in order for your communication to be powerful and persuasive. This is built on, they say it's 3+1 C's, but in this particular graphic of the Mandel Triangle, one of the C's is represented with an I word. So there's confidence, congruence, and intention, which they frequently interchange with conviction. And then in the middle is calibration. And we're going to break down what all of this means: congruence, confidence, conviction, and calibration, and how it applies to you being more persuasive in your communications. So congruence. Congruence, when something is congruent, when you are being congruent, you are consistent with yourself. You are, for example, incongruent if you are telling someone that they should take a specific action, but it's an action that you would never take yourself. So, hey, you should invest in this thing, but hell no, I'm not going to invest in that thing, right? It needs to be, you are consistent with yourself, your speech and your behaviors are in alignment, and the more congruent you are, and this is something that is sensed by your prospects, by who you are communicating with on a subconscious, all of this is sensed on a subconscious level in most cases. The more congruent you are, the more persuasive you will be. And so if you are approaching a situation saying, this is exactly what I do, and this is why I believe it is the best thing out there, and if your needs align with mine in these ways, then this is why this is the best thing for you too, right? That is being congruent. Confidence is you believe you will get the result. So this definitely shows up in communication where, well, so in the context of hypnosis, one of the things that that Mike Mandel teaches is that you are the hypnotist. And I think it's been a while since I've heard him teach it, so I hope I'm remembering right. But he says you are the hypnotist, right? You have to adopt this perspective of I am the hypnotist, and I am confident that as the hypnotist, I'm able to get this result. If you believe that you are going to get the result, you are more likely to get the result. And the same is true of copywriting. I've actually taught that same thing where if you want to be a professional copywriter, one of the things that you have to do is you have to first believe that your identity is that of a copywriter. And what does a copywriter do? What results does a copywriter get? Okay, you start with that belief and then figure out how to make it reality. Find out, because you can find out. You can figure it out, right? And you gain confidence by doing that identity shift into the state that is true. Conviction. I'm tying back in the. I'm tying this back into the way that they present conviction in the context of the Mandel triangle. But conviction in this case means having a clear and definite purpose or intent for the conversation. Meaning, if you want to be persuasive, okay, you're congruent with what you with your speech and behaviors, right? They're in alignment, right? You're confident that you're going to get the result, but then you have to have conviction of the intent of like, this is the action that I need you to take. If you're trying to persuade someone, what does the successful persuasion look like? What do they do as a result of the persuasive communication, right? So you need to have that clear and definite purpose or intent for the conversation. And then calibration, the way that they teach this in the context of hypnosis, and this is like one of the big things why they say you should never use scripts for hypnosis. And it's also, well, we'll get to some super relevant parallels with marketing in just a minute. But for calibration, what the good hypnotist does is they constantly pay attention to the results that they're getting through their communication, and they adapt to their situation. And any good salesperson is going to do this too. They're not just going to have like a pitch, a script that they read that they just blabber out. They're going to pay attention to how someone is responding, and they're going to adapt their communication to the situation, right? And so if you want to be a persuasive communicator, you have to be paying attention. You have to be calibrating. So here's how you use this for persuasive copywriting and selling. Congruence, number one, like sell what you believe in and tell the truth about it, right? The more that you are selling from a place of integrity, the more congruent you will be in all cases. If you start with the truth and you speak the truth, you're not going to have that missing congruence that's going to ruin your persuasive communication, right? If you are consistent with the truth, you know, they say the truth is much easier than lies because it's easy to be incongruent when you are lying about things. Confidence. Sell yourself first, then communicate that. What I mean by this is oftentimes the best sales messages come from someone who is fully converted themselves, right? And so if you want to have confidence that the prospect is going to get the result, you need to convince yourself that if you were in their situation, or perhaps you are in their situation, that this thing is going to get you the result. And if you sell yourself first, then it is much easier to have confidence that, hey, this person is going to get this result from this item or this product or the service or offer, right? Conviction. Know what the next action is and be clear about this. I talk about this often. Like, you should always know what the next action is whenever you're writing a piece of copy, even if we're talking about like, oh, this is a Google ad, right? It's this little tiny chunk of text. Well, what's the next action from there? What are we trying to get people to do? Oh, this is a YouTube ad script. This is a Facebook ad. This is a native ad to show up as an advertorial. Like what are the different contexts that people are going to be seeing this in? And then what next action are we going to try to get them to take? And know what that next action is and be clear about it. And then, you can go deeper into a funnel and suddenly you're dealing with, okay, the next action is that I want to, I want someone to actually convert, to pull out their credit card. Well, be clear about that and then have conviction as you ask them to take that action. And then calibration, this also goes back to Claude Hopkins' Scientific Advertising, which, by the way, you can grab a free copy of Scientific Advertising by going to freescientificadvertising.com. You'll get the audiobook plus PDF. I recorded it for my own personal use a few years ago, and then I decided to share it with the world, right? The audiobook and the PDF as well. But calibration, how do you calibrate in the context of marketing, especially, right? You calibrate by measuring how your audience responds to it, right? And then you test to try to improve the results. And so calibration in the context of marketing communication is, hey, we're testing different messages. We're seeing what people respond to. And when we find something that people are more responsive to, we're going to use that message more, right? And that is calibrating your marketing to the response that you're getting from your audience. And in the context of selling in any context, it's exactly the same thing. You're constantly trying to calibrate to measure the response that you're getting and to adjust, to test different things to see what works better. So my call to action for you from this episode is, number one, ask yourself, how can you use this? How can you fully adopt the 3+1 C's of powerful persuasive communication in your messaging that you're using going forward, whether that's in some type of media as marketing, or whether it's spoken sales. If you're maybe communicating with prospects, if you're trying to get clients, or if you are doing some other type of selling. Just consider that. How can you use this? Also, like and subscribe if you want more content like this. I truly do appreciate those of you who do subscribe. It helps keep the show going and growing and delivering daily value to you. And if you are interested in going deeper into this, a couple different recommendations. First off, I created a sleight of pen copywriting course that is based on things like hypnosis and persuasion and how they've been used and how they apply in the context of marketing and copywriting. And one of my favorite lessons that I've created in any of my training is in that course. It's all about different hypnotic language, uses of hypnotic language, and that's one of the lessons there. So it's the Sleight of Pen Copywriting course. I'll include a link in the description. The 3+1 C's it comes from a few places with Mike Mandel, but I was inspired to create this episode by listening to their Be an Awesome Communicator episode of the Brain Software podcast. It's episode 195. I'll include a link in the description. And I will include a link to where I got the graphic for the Mike Mandel triangle. It says, become a hypnosis superhero with the Mandel triangle. So I'll include all those links in the description. I do truly appreciate you, and I will catch you again in the next episode. I'll see you soon. Bye. Thank you once again for tuning in to this daily episode of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. Remember, check out the links with this episode for even more value. Now make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and engage in every way you can to keep this show going and growing and delivering daily value to you. I'll catch you soon for your next big breakthrough.